Welcome everybody. We are here today again to discuss a brief but very important topic that is of significance in relation to the current developments. Of course, the most important thing today is COVID, right? COVID-19 or novel coronavirus. As you might be reading newspapers or listening to the news, a very important point you might have come across is the Epidemic Disease Act 1897. We are in 2020, friends. So why are we going back to 1897? We are driving back to history, rather into history, to fight out a new virus. We are using a colonial era act to deal with the modern time epidemics. Friends, it was very important to understand that during the British period we did have very serious problem of epidemics. In fact, we have both famines as well as epidemics that have troubled us, and from time to time British government did work on making some acts at the provincial level as well as at the British India level. As you know, we have 11 provinces in the British India at that point of time. So one beauty of the British rule is that they have looted us, no doubt. They are villains, no doubt, but they are systematic villains. For everything they had a legal system, they had a court, they had an act, and they fall back on these acts to derive power, to derive administrative authority. Generally in 1897, those of you who have read history or heard some lectures, the most important thing is in 1897 we also hear about something called Rand murder case. Okay, we have two brothers, Balakrishna Chapekar and Damodar Chapekar, who were hanged because of this. And in fact, this Rand murder case was also the case when Balagangadhar Tilak was first convicted for sedition. Mark the year 1897. Now what is the connection between 1897 and this act? 1897, in Mumbai we have a bubonic plague, and there were fears that it would also spread to other regions or provinces because of the migrants. The most important thing today is that people are migrating. Even yesterday the central government had said the state should close the state borders as well as district borders because migrations are a serious threat to public health and safety in terms of epidemics. Because people just don't go themselves alone. They carry luggage as well as they carry the infection also. This was not a problem. The migrations, and people are worried about closing borders and quarantining them. This is not a new thing. Plague Commission, in 1990s has very clearly said that the people carry disease along with them. It is in this context that 1897 this Epidemic Disease Act was passed. Of course, in those days the Supreme Court and everything was in Calcutta, right? This was passed in Calcutta, and Calcutta province was the one which had taken it up, but it was implemented everywhere later in the entire British India. Now what this act prohibits? This act prohibits people's movement, and it was passed on February 4th, 1897. That's why whether the issue of restricting people's movement or imposing curfew or asking people not to go, so the authority is derived from 1897 Act, because government in a democracy, in a parliamentary democracy governed by constitution, simply cannot do whatever it wants to do. It has to fall back on some act. So this is how 1897 Epidemic Disease Act suddenly came handy for us, and it is this act which is being used now. Right? Having said this, there are also other acts which you should be aware of, because the COVID suppression or the management measures have a very important legal angle. So you might be aware that in every aspect the legal or fundamental rights issue is always linked up. So is government right in restricting people's movement from one place to another now? People from Bihar or in AP or in Telangana or in UP or in Delhi or Patna. Why? Because they came for livelihood. Can we restrict their movements? Yes, if we go by the Epidemic Disease Act. Okay? So that is important one. Now the police are using that. That is the reason why it was, the invoking of 1897 Epidemic Act becomes all the more important now in this context. As I said, you should be aware of all the legalities governing the issue of the coronavirus or COVID-19, the various measures being taken to handle that. One, I already told you, that Epidemic Disease Act 1897, a colonial era act, is now used almost more than 120 years later. It is being used again to fight the virus and regulate people's movements and to enforce lockdown. Another important act that you keep hearing about is Section 188 of Indian Penal Code. This is related to public servants carrying orders or not defying orders of the government. This is also important. More relevant act for the people and for the general knowledge point of view or the current affairs and the examination point of view for you in civil services or whether state services examination, or as a common individual we should know the legality of the government actions, right? So one, I said 1897 February 4th, which was passed in Imperial Calcutta, that is Epidemic Disease Act. The already existing Indian Penal Code, again, which is of course a British era legacy, but lot of amendments have been made to that in IPC. Section 188 of that. And the third important aspect is 2005, Section 2005 Disease Management Act. Okay, this 2005 Disaster Management Act, 2005 Disaster Management Act is being used to stop the fake news. Fake news is everywhere. Whether India is going to go by the US way. Today the government had clarified that it had as of now it had no intention of extending the lockdown. But from yesterday there are rumors everywhere that the lockdown is being extended again by a month or April 30 or whatever. So fake news or rumors are very, very dangerous in times of crisis, especially in times of communal clashes as well as this kind of unprecedented epidemic attacks. Okay, so friends, the Disaster Management Act of 2005, we have a particular section, that is 54, which penalizes any attempt or any actions related to spreading of fake news or rumors with a purpose of malice. Then why are we using all these acts now? Is there any requirement for us for a proper legal framework? Are we suddenly caught off guard or unawares in times of this biological danger that is just blowing up? Yes, we have National Disaster Management Guidelines of 2008. In the National Disaster Management Guidelines, it was simply observed that we need to have new legal provisions, new acts to fight with biological dangers or biological warfare, because whether in a unitary cum federal structure, how far center can impose the acts, are they in conflict with the fundamental rights, how far they are enforceable, how far they are punishable. So it is in this context that National Disaster Management Guidelines of 2008 observes that there is a need to have more better legal framework. Because we did not have it, we have to fall back on 1897 Epidemic Disease Act, right? Maybe that we will look into this, or the government will look into this, policymakers will look into this once the corona is defeated thoroughly, decisively, and when we are all safe. Maybe it's time to revisit the legal aspects of this kind of epidemic disease control. Okay, so friends, these are the points which I want you to be aware. Very much likely that some questions can also come on this for you, and not only that, as an informed individual, as I already mentioned, you should know what actually is happening and how things are moving. Okay, so friends, we'll again get back to you. I will again get back to you. Tomorrow is April 1st, right? And very important day for the banking sector. We are having merger of banks. 10 banks will become 4 banks from tomorrow. That will be the next lecture, which we will see that. Okay. Thanks for joining me. Be safe, stay safe, and make good use of time. Thank you all.